NATO says it's increasingly worried that the Yugoslav President Slobodan Milosevic is trying to widen the crisis in the Balkans. The stability of neighbouring Montenegro is now under threat, with reports that Serb forces are entering Montenegro and trying to drive ethnic Albanian refugees from the republic. Montenegro is Serbia's smaller partner in the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. Its government has tried to stay neutral in the Kosovo conflict, but the army there is under President Milosevic's control. NATO says it hit one of the nerve centres of President Milosevic's power last night with an airstrike on a tower block in the centre of Belgrade. The building contained the headquarters of Mr. Milosevic's political party, as well as a radio station owned by his daughter. John Simpson is in Belgrade and witnessed the attack.
With three tremendous hammer blows, as we looked on from the main press hotel a short way away, NATO took the war to President Milosevic himself at 3:30 this morning. The Ušće building, housing all sorts of business and political interests which converged with his, burned fiercely. By dawn, the fires had consumed almost everything. When it was built, this was the headquarters of the Yugoslav Communist Party, and when that went under, one of the parties which took over from it, the Yule, or Yugoslav Left, had its offices here. The head of the Yule is Mira Markovic, whose husband is President Milosevic himself. Her party moved out of the building a couple of years ago, but the Socialist Party, which her husband leads, still had its offices here when the missiles struck. Today, Dr. Markovic chaired a meeting of her party to condemn the attack on the building as brutal and, a statement said, fascist. The authorities have been surprisingly vague about possible casualties. It may be that the building was empty, though perhaps there were shift workers at one of the 4 radio and 4 television stations which also operated from here, including Radio Kosovo, whose director is President Milosevic's daughter, and TV Pink, run by a wealthy official in the Yule party, which is headed by the president's wife. On the roof is the transmitter from which VK television was broadcast. This is another private channel run by the richest man in the country, another close associate of the president. None of the organizations here, either political or broadcasting, will be destroyed by the attack. All the same, it was a powerful blow against the personal influence of the man NATO says this campaign is all about.
The United States says it's ready to look again at what forces might be needed in Kosovo should NATO decide to send in ground troops. As NATO leaders prepare for a summit in Washington, the military build-up in the Balkans is continuing. 24 American Apache helicopters arrived in the Albanian capital, Tirana, today to bolster the NATO campaign against Serb forces in Kosovo.
Fears are growing that the crisis in Kosovo is spreading. Yugoslav troops have exchanged fire with Albanian soldiers. Croatia has complained to the UN that the Yugoslav army has entered Croatian territory. And now there's mounting evidence that the Serbs are putting pressure on Montenegro. NATO says that Serbian paramilitaries have gone into Montenegro and cleared 3 villages of ethnic Albanians.
Our political leaders urge us to look ahead to the eventual defeat of Slobodan Milosevic and the establishment of some kind of international protectorate in Kosovo. So how would that work? And would it allow the refugees to go home? Jacques Klein of the Office of the High Representative in Bosnia is here giving a lecture on peacekeeping in the Balkans, and Misha Glenny is the author of The Fall of Yugoslavia. Jacques Klein, let's deal first, if we can, with the issue of Milosevic himself. Is it possible to have a long-term solution while he's still in power?
I really don't believe so. I think Milosevic is the problem, not the solution, and has been all along. And the fact that we've allowed this to go on as long as it has is that old adage that evil triumphs when good men do nothing. And we've done nothing for too long and let him become, in a sense, the problem that he is.
Misha Glenny, do you think that peace can come to the Balkans while he is still in power?
I think that it's unlikely, although I think it's not out of the question. If it does come to the Balkans when he's in power, he will ensure that he will have complete control over that territory then under his jurisdiction, which in all likelihood would be Serbia without Kosovo and Montenegro.
So does that mean that one of the war aims of NATO should be explicitly to get rid of him, do you think?
I don't think it necessarily should, no. I think the central war aim of NATO should be at some point the return of the refugees to Kosovo. Beyond that, NATO or the NATO government's member states have to start thinking seriously about a solution not just for Kosovo, but for the entire region, and I include in that Serbia, Romania, Bulgaria, Macedonia, etc. At the moment, what we have done with all the crises in the former Yugoslavia since 1991 is to approach them piecemeal.